Your brain is constantly pulled in a million directions. Notifications buzzing, deadlines looming, and an endless to-do list screaming for attention. You sit down to work, but instead of focusing, you find yourself scrolling through your phone, lost in distractions. Sound familiar? But what if there was a way to quiet the noise, regain control, and train your mind for laser-sharp focus? An ancient method, used for centuries, holds the key to unlocking a calm, clear, and powerful mindset. It's called the Lotus method. Rooted in Eastern philosophy, it teaches you how to break free from distractions, overcome procrastination, and finally start crushing your goals. Miss this and you might stay stuck in the cycle of mental chaos. But watch through to the end, and you'll learn how to apply this powerful method to master your mind, starting right now. In today's fast-paced world, distractions are everywhere. Social media, endless notifications, and an overwhelming to-do list make it harder than ever to focus. You know what you need to do, but your mind resists you. Procrastinate, lose motivation, and feel stuck. But here's the truth. Your ability to focus determines your success. The difference between those who achieve their goals and those who don't isn't talent, it's the ability to control their mind. This video is more than just another productivity hack. You're about to learn an ancient method, practiced for centuries by monks and philosophers, to cultivate deep focus, mental clarity, and unshakable discipline. By the end of this video, you'll have the tools to break free from distractions, master your thoughts, and unlock a new level of productivity. Stay with me. You won't want to miss this. Part 1. Recognizing resistance. Meet Gohan, a highly motivated individual, just like you. He has big dreams. He wants to get fit, excel in his career, and improve his personal life. He knows what he needs to do and even consumes motivational content daily, watching videos, reading books, and listening to podcasts. But when it's time to take action, something holds him back. Instead of working out, he scrolls through social media. Instead of focusing on his tasks, he watches another video. He plans to start strong, but his brain always pulls him towards something easier, something more comfortable. Gohan isn't lazy. He knows exactly what's happening, but he feels powerless to change. Sound familiar? That's because this isn't just Gohan's problem. It's a universal struggle. His story is the story of all of us. Why does our mind resist? Why do we avoid the very things that will bring us closer to our goals? To answer that, we need to understand the mind's natural resistance to discomfort. And that's where the first step of the Lotus method begins. The human mind is wired to avoid discomfort and seek instant gratification. It's not your fault, it's biology. Whenever you face a difficult task, whether it's working out, studying, or starting a new project, your brain perceives it as a challenge. Instead of pushing through, it looks for a way out. This is why you suddenly feel the urge to scroll through social media instead of working. Watch just one more video instead of starting that project. Daydream about success instead of taking real action. These distractions provide instant pleasure and relieve stress, but only temporarily. The problem? They reinforce a cycle of procrastination. Every time Gohan gives in to distractions, his brain learns that avoiding hard tasks feels good. This makes it even harder to focus the next time. But here's the truth. You can break this cycle. The first step isn't to fight the mind, it's to understand it. Ancient Eastern philosophy teaches that awareness is the key to change. Instead of judging yourself for procrastinating, recognize that your mind is simply following its natural tendencies. Once you become aware of this, you can stop blaming yourself and start training your mind to focus. Most people, like Gohan, believe that the solution to their struggles is more motivation. They think that if they just watch the right video, read the right book, or hear the right speech, everything will change. And for a moment, it works. Motivational videos spark energy, making you feel unstoppable. You feel ready to take action, to finally break free from distractions. But then, reality sets in. A few hours or days later, the feeling fades. You're back where you started, scrolling through your phone, avoiding work, feeling stuck. Why does this happen? Because motivation is temporary. It's like a caffeine boost. It gives you a sudden jolt of energy, but once it wears off, you crash. It doesn't rewire the brain. It doesn't address the root of the problem. The real problem isn't lack of motivation, it's lack of mental discipline. You don't need another speech telling you to work harder. You need a method that teaches your mind to focus naturally, without relying on fleeting inspiration. This is where ancient wisdom comes in. For centuries, Eastern philosophy has studied the mind. not to force it into obedience, but to understand its nature. And what it reveals is a profound truth. The mind isn't the enemy, it's simply untamed. To change your life, you don't need more motivation. You need to train your mind like a skilled master tames a wild horse. And that begins with understanding the monkey mind. In Buddhist and Taoist philosophy, the mind is often compared to a wild monkey, restless, impulsive, and easily distracted. Think about it. One moment, your mind is focused on work. The next, it jumps to thoughts about lunch. Then it leaps to your phone, to memories of the past, to worries about the future. It's never still, never focused, never content. This is what Buddhists call the monkey mind, a mind that jumps from one thought to another, avoiding discomfort and chasing fleeting pleasures. The Buddha once said, "Your worst enemy cannot harm you as much as your own unguarded thoughts." This means that the greatest obstacles in life aren't external forces. They're the thoughts we fail to control. The monkey mind thrives on distractions. It doesn't want to sit still. It doesn't want to focus on difficult tasks. It wants instant gratification, constant entertainment, and endless comfort. This is why forcing yourself to be productive doesn't work. If you try to control the monkey mind through sheer willpower, it rebels. It fights back harder. So, what's the solution? Instead of forcing your mind into submission, you observe it. Instead of fighting against distractions, you understand why they happen. This is the first key to mastering focus: awareness. Once Gohan realizes that his mind isn't broken, it's just acting on instinct, he stops blaming himself. He stops feeling guilty for procrastinating and starts working with his mind instead of against it. But awareness alone isn't enough. To truly transform his mind, Gohan must go deeper. He must learn how to stop resisting and start flowing with life. And that's exactly what the next step of the Lotus method teaches. The first step in mastering your mind isn't willpower. It isn't discipline. It isn't motivation. It's awareness. Most people try to force their way through procrastination. They push harder, fight against distractions, and blame themselves when they fail. But this only makes things worse. The truth is, resistance is not your enemy. It's your mind's way of protecting you. Think about it. Whenever you try to start something difficult, whether it's a work project, a workout, or learning a new skill, your brain suddenly finds a million excuses to stop. Maybe I should check my phone first. I'll start after one more YouTube video. I don't feel ready yet. Why does this happen? Because your mind is wired to avoid discomfort. This resistance isn't random. It's an ancient survival mechanism. Your brain evolved to seek comfort and avoid pain, because in the past, discomfort often meant danger. Back when humans lived in the wild, taking risks could mean life or death. The brain developed resistance as a way to keep us safe. Leaving the cave? Risky. Trying something unfamiliar? Dangerous. Expending too much energy? Wasteful. But in today's world, this same survival instinct works against us. Going to the gym isn't dangerous. Starting a new business won't kill you. Writing that essay won't put your life at risk. Yet, your brain still treats these challenges as threats, so it resists. It pulls you toward comfort, Netflix, social media, food, instead of growth. Here's where the problem begins. Most people fight their resistance. They beat themselves up, thinking they're lazy, weak, or undisciplined. But fighting the mind only makes it resist harder. Instead, the solution is awareness. When you recognize that resistance is just your brain's outdated survival instinct, you stop taking it personally. You stop feeling guilty. You stop blaming yourself. And most importantly, you stop fighting your own mind. Instead, you simply observe it. Notice when resistance shows up. Acknowledge that it's just your brain trying to protect you. Instead of fighting it, accept it. By doing this, you break free from the cycle of guilt and frustration. You move from blindly reacting to consciously responding. This is the first principle of the Lotus method. Before you can control the mind, you must first understand it. And once you become aware of your resistance, you're ready for the next step, learning how to flow with it instead of fighting against it. Part 2. Embracing the flow of life. The teachings of Lao Tzu. Gohan has begun to see his mind for what it is, a machine designed to resist discomfort. But simply understanding resistance isn't enough. He still struggles. Whenever he forces himself to work harder, his brain fights back. The more he pushes, the stronger the resistance grows. Frustrated, Gohan starts searching for deeper wisdom, insights that go beyond simple motivation. That's when he discovers the teachings of Lao Tzu, the ancient philosopher of Taoism. One passage in particular stands out. By letting it go, it all gets done. At first, this confuses him. How can letting go lead to getting things done? Isn't success about effort, discipline, and struggle? But the more he reflects on it, the more he realizes that maybe, just maybe, his constant fighting is the very thing holding him back. Lao Tzu's teachings introduce Gohan to the concept of Wu Wei, the principle of effortless action. Wu Wei doesn't mean laziness or passivity. Instead, it's about moving with the natural flow of life rather than constantly resisting it. Imagine a river. When you fight against the current, you struggle, exhaust yourself, and barely make progress. But when you flow with the current, you move effortlessly, covering great distances with minimal effort. This is the essence of Wu Wei. Gohan realizes that he's been treating his goals like an uphill battle, forcing himself, struggling against his own mind, trying to bulldoze through resistance. But what if he could flow through his tasks instead? Rather than seeing work, exercise, or learning as a fight, he starts viewing them as a natural part of life's flow. Instead of thinking, I have to force myself to do this, he thinks, this is simply the next step in my journey. Rather than dreading tasks, he begins accepting them as they come. When a difficult moment arises, instead of resisting, he pauses and breathes. When he feels like procrastinating, instead of battling himself, he observes the feeling and lets it pass. He starts working with his mind, not against it. And the strangest thing happens, his tasks feel lighter, his struggles ease, his resistance fades. This is the second lesson of the Lotus method. You don't have to force your way through life. By flowing with challenges instead of fighting them, you remove resistance. Effort becomes effortless. Once Gohan understands the principle of Wu Wei, he realizes that the way he approaches tasks needs to change. For years, he believed success required brute force, pushing harder, working longer, and forcing himself through resistance. But pushing only made things worse. So, he starts experimenting with a different approach, one rooted in ease and acceptance rather than struggle. Instead of dreading his morning workout, he simply steps into it, focusing on movement rather than struggle. Forcing himself to focus on work, he gently eases into the task, allowing his mind to settle into the process. Fighting procrastination, he observes his resistance without judgment, letting it pass naturally. Rather than seeing difficult tasks as enemies to overcome, he starts viewing them as natural parts of life's rhythm, like waves in the ocean. A wave doesn't resist the tide, it moves effortlessly with it. Gohan realizes that he too can move with life's natural flow rather than against it. This subtle shift in mindset changes everything. At first, it seems too simple. But then, something incredible happens. His tasks no longer feel heavy. The resistance he once felt, diminished. The constant inner battle, gone. The endless cycle of frustration, replaced by a quiet sense of focus. By letting go of the need to force results, Gohan achieves more with less struggle. The same workout that used to feel exhausting now flows naturally. The work he used to avoid now gets done with ease. The mental blocks that once held him back now dissolve effortlessly. This is the true power of Wu Wei, not passivity, but flow. It's not about doing less, it's about doing things with less resistance. Gohan now moves through life with a sense of calm, purpose, and harmony. But he's not done yet. While embracing flow helps him work with his mind instead of against it, there's still one missing piece, learning how to cultivate stillness and reflection. Part 3. Cultivating stillness and reflection. In his journey towards self-mastery, Gohan feels that something is still missing. The flow is helping, but he needs something deeper, a stillness that goes beyond just working with tasks. This leads him to the discovery of Zen Buddhism and the practice of Zazen, a form of sitting meditation. He learns that Zazen is not just about sitting, it's about being present in the moment, allowing thoughts to come and go without judgment, and observing the mind's natural patterns. The idea of sitting in silence seems simple enough. Just sit still, but Gohan quickly realizes that it's much harder than it sounds. His mind, still accustomed to constant movement, resists this new practice. Thoughts flood in, distracting him. It's like trying to silence a loud radio. Every time he thinks it's quiet, another station blares through. Despite the difficulty, Gohan persists, determined to uncover the power of stillness. In the beginning, the silence is unsettling. His mind races, filled with worries, desires, and distractions. But slowly, something begins to shift. As he continues practicing Zazen, he learns a crucial lesson. Sitting in stillness is not about emptying the mind, it's about observing it without attachment. Instead of getting frustrated with the noise of his thoughts, Gohan begins to see them as clouds drifting across the sky, unable to control them, but also not bound to them. His thoughts no longer pull him in every direction. He learns to let them come and go without trying to hold on to any one thought. As Gohan continues, the chaos in his mind begins to calm. Just like a lake disturbed by the wind, his thoughts settle when the wind of distraction dies down. The first time Gohan truly experiences the power of Zazen is a revelation. Instead of fighting the noise, he simply sits with it, observing, accepting, and letting it pass. Over time, the moments of quiet become longer. In these moments of stillness, he starts to notice something incredible. His thoughts become clearer. What once felt like a cluttered mind becomes sharp, focused, and calm. Rather than constantly searching for answers outside himself, Gohan realizes that the answers were always within him, but they could only emerge when the mind was at peace. Through Zazen, Gohan learns that true strength and clarity don't come from doing more, but from being still enough to hear the quiet wisdom inside. In the silence, he discovers a new sense of focus, an inner peace that guides him forward without the frantic need to rush. True clarity and insight often come from the quiet spaces in our lives, away from the noise and distractions of the world. Gohan's experience with Zazen shows him that stillness is not just about physical silence. It's a state of mind where we can see things clearly without the interference of constant chatter. In these moments of reflection, the mind becomes calm, like a lake settling after a storm. Before the wind stops, the water is turbulent and unclear. But as the wind dies down, the surface of the lake smooths out, and the reflection becomes sharp. In the same way, when Gohan quiets his mind, his thoughts align, and he sees his challenges not as overwhelming obstacles, but as opportunities to grow and learn. Stillness allows us to disengage from the mental noise that often clouds our vision. When the mind is clear, insight flows naturally. We become more aware of our thoughts, our feelings, and the true nature of our struggles. The power of stillness isn't limited to meditation. It's something that can be applied to our everyday lives. When Gohan embraces stillness, he finds that his mind sharpens. He can now approach each task or challenge without the usual fear or hesitation. His mind, once chaotic and scattered, becomes a focused tool that helps him see situations clearly. Rather than rushing into problems with a clouded mind, Gohan begins to pause and reflect before taking action. By doing this, he can assess each challenge with a new perspective, unearthing solutions he might have missed before. Stillness, as Gohan discovers, doesn't just help us calm down. It helps us rise above the stress and confusion that often clouds our decision-making. In those moments of reflection, we see the truth of what's in front of us, allowing us to act with purpose and clarity. For anyone struggling to find clarity in the midst of distractions, practicing stillness is a powerful tool. Gohan's journey teaches us that if we can quiet the mind, we can open ourselves to a deeper understanding of our personal struggles. We can see things more clearly, and with that clarity, we can move forward with confidence. Just like Gohan, you can begin to experience the benefits of stillness. Whether it's through meditation, mindful breathing, or simply sitting in silence for a few minutes each day, you can find your own moments of quiet reflection. In those moments, don't force your mind to be empty. Let the thoughts come and go without judgment. Over time, you'll find that the more you practice stillness, the clearer your path becomes. You'll begin to see your challenges in a new light, and with that clarity, you can face them with courage and insight. So, take a step today to embrace stillness. Your mind will thank you for it, and you'll be amazed at the clarity and insight that emerge from this peaceful practice. Part 4. Turning reflection into action. As Gohan deepens his journey into self-mastery, he realizes something crucial. Meditation alone is not enough. Reflection gives clarity, but without action, it remains just an idea. He remembers the wisdom of the Shaolin monks, who balance mental clarity with physical discipline. Shaolin monks don't just meditate. They train their bodies with intense focus and precision. They believe that the mind and body must move as one. When the mind is sharp, the body follows, and when the body is disciplined, the mind remains clear. Gohan understands that stillness gives insight, but movement brings transformation. To truly change, he must take the calm awareness from meditation and apply it to his daily actions. With this realization, Gohan changes how he approaches his tasks. Instead of rushing or procrastinating, he applies deliberate, focused action. He understands that every action must be done with full presence, just as a Shaolin monk executes each movement with precision. One of the biggest changes he makes is eliminating multitasking. He learns that trying to do many things at once only scatters the mind, weakening focus and leading to mistakes. Instead, he adopts the principle of one-task focus, giving his full attention to a single task before moving on to the next. When he studies, he just studies. No distractions, no jumping between tasks. When he exercises, he pays attention to every movement, fully engaged, fully present. As a result, his work improves, his efficiency increases, and he finds a sense of satisfaction in even the simplest tasks. The lesson from Gohan's journey is clear. Reflection is powerful, but it must be followed by action. The mind-body connection is key to creating lasting change. If you want to overcome distractions and resistance, start by cultivating stillness, but don't stop there. Take that clarity and channel it into focused, intentional action. Try this. Pick one task and commit to doing it without distractions for a set time. Move with awareness, whether it's working, exercising, or even eating, give it your full attention. Let go of multitasking. Focus on one thing at a time and do it well. By combining reflection with action, you'll not only find clarity, but also create real progress in your life. As Gohan continues his journey, he realizes a fundamental truth. Action without reflection leads to burnout. Constantly pushing forward without understanding or adapting creates exhaustion and frustration. Reflection without action leads to stagnation. Deep insights mean nothing if they are not applied to real life. True growth comes from balancing both. Mental clarity must align with deliberate action. The key is to move forward with awareness, ensuring every step is taken with purpose rather than impulse. Part 5. The Art of Patience. The Lotus Flower. At this point, Gohan has gained clarity, embraced flow, and taken focused action. But one challenge remains: impatience. Despite his efforts, progress feels slow. His dreams still seem distant, and he begins to doubt himself. Why is nothing changing fast enough, he wonders. Frustration creeps in, tempting him to give up. This is a critical moment. Many people quit here. They expect instant results and lose faith when things don't happen quickly. But Gohan is about to learn one of the most powerful lessons of all. One day, Gohan's mentor shares a simple but profound lesson: the story of the lotus flower. In Eastern philosophy, the lotus is a symbol of growth and enlightenment. It begins its journey buried deep in the mud, hidden, unseen, struggling against the dirt and water. But instead of rushing to bloom, the lotus trusts the process. It slowly pushes upward, growing steadily until it finally breaks through the surface. Only then does it blossom into a beautiful flower. This is the lesson of patience. Real growth happens beneath the surface before it's ever visible. Gohan realizes that he too is like the lotus. Just because he can't see instant results doesn't mean he's not growing. He must trust that every effort, every struggle, and every lesson is shaping him even if he can't see it yet. Try this. Reflect on your progress, not just results. Write down what you've learned even if you haven't reached your goal yet. Embrace small wins. Recognize that even tiny improvements are part of your journey. Stay consistent. Keep going, even when you don't see immediate changes, because real growth happens beneath the surface. The final step. After all his struggles, Gohan finally understands the ultimate lesson. Patience is not passive. It's an act of trust in the process of growth. He stops obsessing over immediate results and instead focuses on steady improvement. He learns that true mastery isn't about speed, it's about consistency and resilience. He accepts that just like the lotus takes time to bloom, his own transformation will unfold at its own pace. This is the final step in mastering the Lotus method, learning to embrace patience and trust the journey. Wherever you are right now, remember, progress is happening, even if you can't see it yet. The key is to keep going. Now, take a moment to reflect. Where are you in your journey? Which step do you need to focus on? Are you struggling with resistance, flow, action, or patience? Growth isn't a straight line. It's a process, and it will unfold in its own time. The Lotus method isn't just an idea, it's a way of living. And if you apply these principles, you'll start to see a transformation in your mindset, your focus, and your life. If you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe for more insights on mastering the mind and unlocking your potential. Before you go, here's one final insight. The seed grows in darkness before it reaches the light. Trust that your efforts today are shaping the person you're becoming. See you in the next video. Stay focused, stay patient,